Hello, I'm Regina McCann Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Today, I have a new friend with me. And Lenore, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and what you love about what you do?
So I am an attorney, family law mediator. And what I do is I help people settle their custody and divorce cases through mediation or collaborative law. And why I love what I do is because I am part of the solution instead of part of the problem. I remember after practicing family law litigation for about 5 years, I went to a seminar and someone stood up and said, I am a reformed custody litigator. And I said, that's what I want to be when I grow up. And shortly after that, I went and became certified as a mediator. And I've been looking for ways to expand my practice so that I can help people come to a more peaceful resolution through this painful process of divorce, because it is really brutal, and the courts are not the best place to settle it. It's an adversarial system where people fight, and people who are going through divorce don't need to fight anymore. It's painful enough just to lose that dream and separate your household and be a part-time parent. And going through court is just really pouring salt in the wounds.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I completely agree with you. And, in the divorce realm, and, it's a tough situation to begin with. No matter, how calm or volatile it becomes, it's a tough situation. It's a tough life transition to go through. So we always try to start recommending our clients to start with mediation if at all possible, because a mediation is going to be at least much better experience for everyone, and hopefully less volatility when you're working with somebody like yourself, or a different mediator or whatever. But it just brings that volume down a little bit.
It does. And the best part about mediation is the parties are in control. The
Hmm.
parties get to decide, with the help of a mediator and or a collaborative lawyer, what's going to be the best resolution for their family, not some judge, not some cold law, not some support calculation that some legislator made in their infinite wisdom. They're going to be able to look at their family, their individual circumstances, and figure out what's going to be the best way to work things out so that they and their children and their family are still able to be healed and safe and secure going forward. And they're the ones that'll get to decide that. We just help them look at all the information and make educated decisions when they're in a calm state. When you're in the courts, you're in a fright or flight kind of situation where your executive functioning turns off. It's your reptilian brain. You want to attack, and you're
Yep.
not really thinking about about the big picture, what's going on. You're being triggered emotionally constantly, and the lawyers are patting your hand saying, it's okay, we'll take care of it. And most people that come out of the other end, they're dazed and confused,
Yeah.
and it's not what the family lawyers want for them, but they're doing their job. And so mediation is and or collaborative law is just such a better option for everybody um going forward. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the reptilian brain. Oh my gosh, I'm totally stealing that. That is
Yes.
awesome. But the other thing that people don't think about, when I think we're almost conditioned, like as soon as you hear somebody say, I'm thinking about a divorce, it's like, oh, you better get a good lawyer. And which, there is a case for lawyers in some of the divorce cases that we work with, especially. And even if you have a mediator, of course, you want some attorney there. But what you don't want to do is go to court and have some complete stranger make a decision about you or your children's custody, or the separation of your assets as well, because they're a total stranger. How do they know what's best for you? I don't,
They don't, and that's not, and here's the thing, that's not their job. Their
right,
job is to make a decision based on the law, based on the factors that come before them. They're not there to do what's, particularly best for your situation, because that could be malpractice. That could be
right,
a reason for an appeal,
right,
because they
right.
didn't do what the standard is.
Mhm.
So, and the standard may not fit your case.
Right.
And yes, there, in some situations, mediation isn't going to work, or collaborative law isn't going to work, because one or both spouses are not emotionally healthy enough to make those decisions. They are
Right.
angry, they're hurt, they want to fight. The funny thing is, at the end of the day, they end up hating their lawyers more than their spouse.
Which, I mean, just that alone, like what you said about the way I look at it was, it's a total stranger making decisions for you, but you're pointing out a great point of reference that they're bound to make decisions within like certain parameters. Um, but just within what you're saying, you get in there and everybody gets like hostile feeling in the reptilian brain, which is just all the more reason, if you can, go to mediation so that you're all part of that conversation and you are making decisions within what is right for you and your family, as opposed to within the confines of whatever the bullet points say in the court.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, you're kind of like, I mean, I hate to be graphic, but when you're in court, you're kind of like either rats in a cage or crabs in a barrel. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and it's just the way it is. I mean,
Right.
it's an adversarial system. A lot of times I said, it's like, the lawyers are like the gladiators, and you and your kids are like, being fed to the lions, because it's all, it's almost like sport in some
Yeah.
respects,
Yeah.
each side,
Yeah.
but it's because they get lost in it. They get
Yeah.
lost in it, and again, it's that reptilian brain. And um it, and sometimes, when I say maybe some people aren't ready to do it the mediation or collaborative way, if people go to the right counselor, either individually or together, before this whole process starts, a lot of their wounds or their triggers can, they maybe not healed, but they may not be as raw, so that when they do come into those situations, they've processed a lot of that emotion that ends up fueling these fights and litigation, and they can um be calmer in making these decisions.
Right.
um so that might, I know people say, yeah, you're getting divorced, lawyer up, and my thing is, have you seen a counselor? Maybe you guys
That's a
should
great
go
point.
talk to somebody about this, and kind of talk these emotions through before you get in the
Right.
same room,
Right.
when you could be triggered.
Yeah, that is a fabulous point. Oh my goodness. So let me ask you, so you spend a lot of your time, what your focus is on collaborative law and mediation. So tell us a little bit more about your practice, and what type of situation is good for what you're doing and how you're helping people.
Um, so my mediation practice is a comprehensive practice where I help the parties gather all their financial documents, and I give them budgets to work through. I provide them with what the support guidelines are, And first and foremost, I help them work out a parenting plan. I
Mm,
work part-time as a Montgomery County custody conciliator. So most days I'm helping parties come up with a solution to their custody issues. And in mediation, I think the cornerstone of any plan, and in collaborative law as well, the cornerstone of any plan has to be your children. And
mhm.
everything else financially needs to be built around that cornerstone, your children. What are your plans for your children? And then what are we going to do financially to make that happen? Because your kids deserve to be happy to be in mom's house and dad's house, to feel safe and secure, and not to be put in the middle, and not to feel that either parent is strained financially, because they're doing all the work. When
Yeah,
parents
yeah.
separate, they're fat and happy in their own house. It's the kids that
Mm,
have to go back and forth, and they do it because they love their parents and they want to be with their parents, but they're doing the work.
yeah,
And parents need to be able to show their kids that you can love somebody and not be able to live with somebody, but that you can have a healthy relationship, and what that looks like, because that's going to be what the children are going to use to choose their spouse, that template, and then their children are going to use that template. So that's why mediation is so important, and why I'm so passionate about it, because it reframes that dysfunctional marital relationship and changes the trajectory, I think, of a family.
yeah.
And that's the same way with collaborative. So in my mediation practice, the parties don't necessarily need to go to a certified divorce financial analyst if they feel like they have a good handle on what their finances are. But if they feel that they're a little confused, they want to see what it's going to look like, separated and down the line, and what the possible scenarios are, then the parties, I certainly recommend to them, either individually or together, to contact somebody like you to help them be more informed and have more of a vision. In collaborative law, generally, besides well, a mediator isn't necessarily involved. It's more of a team leader, who could be someone that's a mediator or a mental health professional. They help the parties can create their parenting agreement. They also are part of the team meeting to keep things calm and help people negotiate. The parties also have lawyers, which is, lawyers are not part of the mediation process. You can consult with a lawyer outside of the mediation process to get information about what the law says, but they are not part of the mediation process. In collaborative law, each party has an attorney that agrees to collaboratively work with the other side to help the parties come up with a settlement agreement that's best for the family. And if these negotiations break down, the collaborative lawyer agrees not to be part of any litigation going forward. And what happens is the parties that meet individually with the certified divorce financial analyst, they meet individually with the team leader to talk about their parenting, they meet individually to talk to their attorneys, and then they will have group meetings to talk about the issues that need to be resolved, and bring all the information that has been gathered to these team meetings, so that eventually the parties will come to a comprehensive settlement. So collaborative law is a lot more involved, and it's also for parties who might not be in the best mindset to just be able to be in the same room together and work things out themselves. But I do both,
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
it accommodates whatever a family needs.
I love your approach, Lenore, like that you start with the family, with the kids, and let the rest trail. Because the kids are you're right, the kids are doing the work. And I think that's a great way to approach it.
Yeah, it's just in my practice, my dad was an attorney. I mean, I've seen grandchildren of clients my father had come in front of me as a conciliator.
Yeah.
So it's it really is generational.
Mhm.
My vocation in all of this is to help be that little seed that's planted for that generational healing.
Yeah,
Um, you know, that's key. I mean,
yeah,
because people that come from dysfunctional families, no matter how well off they are or how educated they are people who can do a lot of damage to society. And
right.
we see it a lot
Yeah, we do. Well, we do. Absolutely.
in so many realms,
Yeah,
from the boss at the McDonald's to the CEO of a big company to someone that's in government. They're all working out their individual traumas on the heads of people. And um, just think that, if we had a more healed world, it would be a better place.
oh, yes, that's great. Now, if anyone wanted to find out more about you and your practice and follow you along, where would they go to find out more information?
Well, they could find me on my website, Divorce Done Differently PA. They could find me on Facebook, Divorce Done Differently. In Pennsylvania, they could find me on LinkedIn, Lenore M.J. Myers. Um, and those would be, the best, or they can even email me at lmjmyers@cs.com, or even call me at my cell phone, 215-470-3121.
Awesome. Now, tell us a little bit about your upcoming educational events because I think they're a great thing that you're providing.
So, I am launching a coaching program called Don't Litigate, Mediate. And what that is to help people get to the point where if they're going through or thinking about a divorce, they're going to step into it in a more peaceful, clear thinking way. And it's a coaching program to get them to that point. And so we are having offering talks at more recently at the Luddington Library in Bryn Mawr, and with my co-host who went through a really awful divorce, and she talks about the transformational power of divorce. And I add how, if mediation was or collaborative law was available to her, how her experience might have been better. And
Yeah.
the next event is March 29th at 6 o'clock at the Luddington Library in Bryn Mawr.
Okay. We may be publishing this after the March 29th date. So, if for future dates, would they just go to your website for future dates, or where is that going to be? Where can they find that information?
Website or LinkedIn, or just
Okay.
contact me directly and I will let them know.
Perfect. Perfect.
And on my website, is where we will be launching the course. So if it's a
Awesome.
if they're interested in joining that course, they can certainly sign up for more information there as well.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's move on to a question I love asking professional women, and one question is, what are some of the challenges that you have faced as a professional woman?
Um, so I think in some respects, I think I've been very lucky. Because a lot of my initial entrances into this career um, happened because, I guess, um, I was a pretty face and I was nice. I hate to say it, but um, yeah, but not just that. Like, how I got into family law is I was working for the public defender's office, and there was an old judge that I came in to talk to about something, and a colleague of my father's, who was the grandfather of family law, Neil Hurwitz, saw how I handled the judge. He was really impressed, and he called my dad up and said, "Hey, do you think she'd want to come work for me?" And that's how I got into family law.
Oh, that's sweet.
Um, yeah. yeah, and so I worked for him part-time 6 years and created my own family practice, and I like people. Um, so some of the other challenges though would be being a mom.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
I when my son was first born, I was mostly on my own, but I did try and join a firm, and they were very understanding, but I don't know how moms do it,
It's
and
rough.
give the firm the time and hours that they need. It turned out my son was special needs on top of that, so um, that was a challenge balancing that, but
Yeah.
I managed to. Um, and being self-employed, it's feast or famine. So you
Hmm.
kind of don't always have a steady income stream. And my husband, because our son was special needs, was a stay-at-home dad for a while,
Okay.
for a good part of his childhood. So those were the challenges. But I can say this, my son always came first. And whatever career moves I didn't make because he came first, I'm very happy with, because um he is neurotypical and healed in a way that, had he not been my main focus, I don't know if he would have been. So, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
blessed. I'm blessed. He's a
beautiful.
miracle.
Yeah, that's
So
beautiful. I'm so glad for you. Thank you for sharing that. That's very, very cool. And yeah, it is tough being a mom, and especially if you have a special needs
it
child.
is.
So,
I mean, it's the standard is it's getting better, but the standard is still masculine.
mhm,
And I'll never forget when my husband, he was working and my son was in the hospital with a blood disorder that was being challenged. And this company that he was working for, that was supposed to be a family company, said, "You have to get your priorities straight. Why aren't you at
oh,
work?" And he is, "I
oh,
do have my priorities straight. I'm in the hospital with my son."
yeah. Hello.
Hmm. So it's
Wow.
not just women.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not
Wow.
just
That's
women. But I think as more women are getting into the workforce, um, there's more understanding of that, but I
yeah,
think there's a long way to go. That
long way to go.
um our society needs to understand the children come first,
Yeah,
not the buck,
yeah.
not the not the promotion, not the big toys. The children come first, because when we're all dead and gone, what survives us is the stories our kids tell about us and our
Absolutely.
grandkids tell about us. And if you
Yep.
think about the stories you know about your great grandparents, that's all that survived. And some are good and some aren't.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right, I'm going to switch gears on you totally like left to right. What is your
Okay.
vision of retirement?
um, I'd like to do, um, I'd like to just be doing mediation, um, and, you know, part time. And then I'd like to be able to just spend time with my family, um, spend time in Cape May, spend time doing art. I really need to get back to my art. I've always been an artist trapped in a lawyer's body. So I want to do so I want to be able to do a lot more art. I love working in clay, and I'd like to start getting back to doing work in clay,
Yeah,
because that feeds my soul.
awesome.
And maybe go back to see my Baja gray whales a couple more times
Oh,
too.
oh, that story is just precious. I'm so glad you were able to do that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful experience. So I feel very
Mhm.
blessed to have
Yeah,
had it.
awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a pleasure. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Regina. It's always wonderful to spend time with you too.
Yeah, yeah. And thank everyone else for joining us. Again, I'm Regina McCann Hess, president of
Yes,
Forge
thank
Wealth
you.
Management. Yeah. And look for Lenore's website for some of those classes. Our call to action. We're gonna have two call to actions today.
Okay.
Um, first call to action is if you or a friend, someone you know is contemplating or going through a divorce, go to Lenore's website, check out the upcoming educational events that she's hosting at the library. And then our second call to action is don't litigate, mediate. I love that saying. And it's true. I mean, you get, it's such a better transition when you're able to do it that way, if it's possible. But thank you
Thank
everyone
you.
else for, yeah, thanks for joining us. Regina McCann Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. Our website is forgewealth.com. On Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Forge Wealth, Instagram at Forge Wealth Management, and LinkedIn, Regina McCann Hess. Go make it a great day.